Hi, Joe here from Shutter Speed Photography. Very nice to see your smiling face again here on YouTube. So, lens manufacturer AstrHori sent me out their 85mm lens to take a look at, to test and review, and I want to share with you the results. So, this is a full frame lens, 85mm prime, f1.8, fully autofocus, and just a little bit about it. It is solid. It is all metal. Gold contacts on the back here, USB-C port for firmware upgrades. In terms of optics, we have 9 elements in 8 groups with nano-coated glass to help cut down on any chromatic aberration. Of course, it does come with a lens hood and a cap, of course, and it is a 72mm filter size here on the front. So, a little bit more about this lens. One of the things I liked about it is, well, quite frankly, the price point. So currently this lens is $249. So if we compare that to the Nikon Z 85mm f1.8, that lens is at $696.95 currently. So quite a considerable savings in terms of the two different lenses. But that's all wonderful. But we have to know how the lens does, right? So we want to see from this lens some beautiful bokeh. We want to see how sharp it is. We want to see how the vignetting is on the edges, things like that. Now, one of the things I will say, it's an 85mm, so most likely you're going to use it as a portrait lens. It's kind of a lens that's very traditionally used for photographing people. So, two schools of thought. Of course, we always want our lenses to be sharp, but when it comes to photographing people, how sharp is too sharp, right? Generally, I'm shooting people at around f5.6 because I don't want my images to be super sharp to show off all of their flaws, right? We want them to look generally more beautiful. So, again, I mean, that's kind of be a subjective thing that you're going to have to decide for yourself. But the best way to really kind of get a feel for this is to jump right in and look at some of the images. So, with that being said, I appreciate you being here, and if anything in this video does help you out, please help me out by hitting like, subscribe, and of course, ring the bell so you get notified of future updates to this channel. It's the best way to help me out if anything here, like I said, helps you out. So, let's jump in and take a look at some samples and some lens test charts, and we'll see what we think. All right, so we are here inside of Lightroom. We're going to take a look at some images shot with the 85, particularly looking at the bokeh and aspects like that of the lens. So took her off to the zoo, and here is a picture of my favorite animal at the zoo, or favorite bird at the zoo, I guess I should say, a shoebill stork, very prehistoric looking bird. And this is actually shot right through the fence. And since we are at f1.8 here, the fence is literally dissolved. That's in front of me, and we have a nice clean shot of the shoebill stork. And that's one of the nice things you can do with an f1.8 lens, because you can get that super shallow depth of field. And when you project the depth of field outward to the bird, that was quite a distance off from me, and the fence was very close to me, because the fence becomes so soft it literally disappears. Because it's outside of the field of view of this f1.8 lens. And you can do this with most lenses, but certainly if I had shot this at f16, it wouldn't have been the same results. We probably would have seen a lot of lines of the fence in the image. So let's see what else we have. There he is. There's my buddy again. Oh, and here he is, Mr. Koala Bear. Let's give this a second to load in. We'll take a look at this. Real nice texture from the lens here, very soft. Look at the background, the bokeh in the background, real nice. So that does work very well, and that's what we would want from this type of lens. We're going to want that dreamy, soft background. And so we're certainly seeing that here, with a really nice shallow depth of field, even soft up at the tip of his nose. A little bit up here, but sharp on the eye, which is kind of what we're hoping for, right? Definitely sharp, soft over here, and soft back here. So that's nice. That's what we're looking for. That makes for a good portrait lens. Here is a flamingo, and again, some nice soft background. Now his proximity to the background here Means we're not going to get a super soft background because it's just a little bit too close to it, but it's a little bit soft and kind of nice. And then a shot at f1.8. And there he is again. So again, real nice definition in the lens, nice and sharp, nice and crisp. Just produces a really nice image. All right, again, nice color reproduction. Of course, that's part of that Nikon color science. That's always so incredible. We do get great colors, but of course, the lens does play a bit of a part in that as well. And again, nice soft background. And again, here we're really just able to obliterate the background. And again, like when we're shooting in someplace like a zoo, that's really what you want. You want to be able to just obliterate that background because we don't want to see people walking back and forth in the image. That just kills the image, right? So being able to really just blur out that background using a nice shallow depth of field and have this bird nice and in really, really sharp focus is exactly what we're looking for in this kind of lens, and it performed very well. No problems with focusing or anything like that. It's quick to focus. Now, next thing I want to show you is the lens test charts, and I'll show you how the lens did, and we'll do some comparisons against the Nikon 85mm F1.8 lens, just to see them side by side, because I know you're going to ask, somebody's going to ask, well, how does it compare against the Nikon? And let's just say we're really not comparing apples to apples because of the huge price difference, right? The Nikon is, somewhere close to almost 3 times the price of this lens. So really the question we should be asking ourselves is this lens a good value for the price? And I think the answer to that is yes, but let's look at the charts. All right, so looking at the first lens test chart, you're going to see here, really what we're looking at is how did the center do? Center sharpness looks acceptable. This is at f1.8, by the way. See if we can get that up there. Yep, f1.8. And center sharpness looks good. Color reproduction all the way across looks good. And then, of course, we want to look at the corners. How does the corners do? And the corners, not nearly as sharp in the corner as you see there as it is in the center, but again, that's kind of like typical for most lenses, and usually they're going to get a little bit sharper as we progress. So here's f2.8, and you can see, I can see the difference in the corner sharpness already and in the center sharpness. So we're definitely seeing some difference in the center sharpness. Generally, lenses are sharpest in the middle of their focal ranges and kind of, they're weakest at the outer extremes. So this lens does go f1.8 to f16, so I think we'll probably see it at its best somewhere around f4, f5.6, but hey, let's see. So it looks good here and looking better here as well. So we're going to jump up to f4, and I again, I can definitely see an increase in sharpness there and across the board at the corner as well. Color looks good all the way across, so nice lens. And no real noticing vignetting in the corners at any focal range so far that I've noticed, which is also great for this kind of a very reasonably priced lens. This is 5.6. Again, looking good. Let's look at f8. And I didn't do every focal range. There was f2, etc. But I kind of skipped just to the most often used f-stops, just to keep the video a little bit shorter, and it looks great at f8. Real nice center sharpness and really great corner sharpness. So I'm going to say I'm going to bet that this lens is going to be at its best at f8. We're at f11, looking super sharp again. And top f16, and looks great at f16. And the corner looks real good as well at f16. So really see a strong improvement on this lens. So let's look at 5.6. That's 5.6, and let's compare it to 8. You see the difference there, right? That's f8. So definitely a big increase in sharpness there. So that's really great. So now let's take a minute and compare it against the Nikon Because like I said, I know you want to know. Somebody out there wants to know. So let's take a look. All right, so we have on the screen right now, on your left-hand side of the screen, we're going to have over here the AstrHori. On the right side, the Nikon. Both 85mm, both full frame, both maximum aperture of f1.8. Let's take a look at center sharpness and just see how they did. Not a huge surprise there, right, folks? I mean, again, Nikon triple the price, but definitely sharper at the centers. And I'm going to assume in the corners as well. Let's take a look at the corner. Yeah, definitely a big difference between the two in the corner. But again, what would you expect, right? We are looking at triple, almost triple, actually probably not triple, but close to triple the price. Let's take a look at some more samples. All right, so let's take a look at a comparison at f5.6, a little bit closer to the middle. Typically where I would be shooting portraits. So it's kind of a nice thing to see how it looks at f5.6. So here are the AstrHori, here are the Nikon. Let's take a look. And again, very similar results. I mean, Nikon definitely looking a little bit sharper there. AstrHori looking pretty good. Definitely acceptable for sure. And again, this kind of gets into that whole aspect of how sharp is too sharp, right? So maybe this kind of a little bit softer look at 5.6 might be kind of actually what you might be looking for in an 85. Or maybe it's not. Maybe you really want that sharper lens. So let's take a look at the corners again. And again, definitely Nikon getting much sharper corner reproductions. So definitely a win to the Nikon on that. But center sharpness on this looks solid really on both cameras. Definitely edge to the Nikon though. Let's take a look at one more. Let's bump it up to f8 where the AstrHori was really solid. Let's see what that looks like. All right, again, same thing on this side, the AstrHori. On this side, the Nikon. So let's take a look. This is, like I said, where we saw the lens really producing some strong results. So it'll be interesting to see what this looks like head-to-head against the Nikon. And again, very good results here. Again, Nikon, in my opinion, Nikon edges it out a little bit. Again, we'll look at the corners. And they're super close. Again, edge Nikon for sure, but it is super close at this point. Very, very hard to really tell a noticeable difference. And I got to be honest with you, I think that if we took portraits side by side and put them together, you'd probably be hard-pressed to really spot any differences in a portrait of a person. So again, I think this lens is a good value for the money. It is a solid lens, I can tell you that. Really well put together. And it does hold its own probably better, especially with the corners, than most of the other third-party lenses that I've seen. So I think this is a really strong contender. I think the price point is incredibly attractive. So that's something that you're really going to have to figure. And overall, it handled well. So that's it. So now it's in your hands. All right, so there you have it. Let me know in the comments, which lens would you choose? Would you choose the AstrHori and go with the great price? Or would you choose the Nikon, which edges it out a little bit in sharpness and some clarity? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I think either way you go with this, you're not going wrong. I think both lenses are solid lenses. I think you'd be happy with either. But I would love to hear from you. As you know, I try and answer most all questions I can in the channel, and I look forward to hearing your opinion. Thanks for watching YouTube. Wouldn't be here without you, so I appreciate you, and please consider subscribing. Thanks. Have a great day.